You know what's funny, folks? At the night of, I talked about this briefly Sunday night, even though I didn't order the pay-per-view, but I do have it courtesy of a torrent. But what's funny about this is, I said this past Sunday night, going into Monday, that they needed to keep the momentum that they had going off of Night of Champions into Monday. Well, this past Monday, they ended Raw on a high note, and it seems they're going to try to do the same with SmackDown. But what's funny about this, folks, is even though they're trying their best to get momentum going for the product, and even though ratings have increased a little bit for this past Monday's Raw, pretty much increasing in certain areas, I'm sure of it. What doesn't really surprise me, because I said this before, I said, is this losing steam? But it doesn't surprise me that the current WWE, that the Bryan versus Orton / Triple H storyline is turning people off. As well as the whole Stephanie McMahon Big Show storyline is turning people off. And here's why. It's not just the fact that they've seen these kind of storylines before. They saw the Big Show storyline not even 4 years ago with Shawn Michaels and JBL. And they're rehashing it again with Stephanie and Big Show. It's like they know what the end result's going to be unless they add a bit of a twist on it that we probably wouldn't have predicted. Only then would it be a little bit more original than a rehash. Basically it'd be a rehash, but an original twist, but with an original twist ending that we wouldn't see coming. You see, that's the only way I can see this working. But again, it's because people have seen that before. And the same thing with Daniel Bryan and versus the administration or the regime, whatever you want to call it. They've seen that before. Yes, there's a few twists and turns here and there to try to freshen it. Sure, there's a few twists and turns here and there to help freshen it up, like this past Monday. And of course, like this past Monday and all that. But still, even with a few of those, it's still the same crap. Well, not crap, but I should correct myself. It's just still the same stuff they've seen before. And how is that? Well, let's see. A week ago, not this past Monday, but a week ago this past Monday, you have Daniel Bryan ending Raw on, holding the title. You have him ending, then this past Friday, you have him ending SmackDown holding the title. Then you have him win it at Night of Champions, which I said in my video of Night of Champions versus Sunday Night Football, to me is what WWE needed to do to get people who watch Sunday Night Football over Night of Champions to want to maybe torrent and download Night of Champions and then tune into Monday Night Raw the following night to see what happens. They succeeded in doing that. But what happened, though, kind of backfired in the face. You see, what backfired was they started Raw off. They started it off in a very positive way. Don't get me wrong about that. They started it off in a way that fans wanted to see. Daniel Bryan coming out being announced as the new WWE champion with the championship belt with the yes side plates pasted on the side. Attached onto the side, right? The side plate saying yes, yes, yes. And that's what fans wanted to see. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. Because what happened was Triple H comes out, points out the whole fast count thing, and then just virtually, and then just basically, figuratively, or verbally, and then literally strips the title away from Daniel Bryan. And how does he do this? You have Orton come down and freaking hit him with an RKO, basically leaving off where they left off 2 weeks before. And it's like, okay, you got that momentum you wanted at Night of Champions. You got that momentum from, it's like, and to me when I look at this, when I read the results of this, I'm thinking, okay, you had the momentum from last week's Raw and SmackDown and Night of Champions. It was like, I mean, to me, it was like, okay, you have the momentum. It's like, okay, you just had the momentum. It's like, okay, you just carried the momentum you had from last week's Raw that carried into last Friday's SmackDown and into Night of Champions, and you just dropped it. Now, I know I'm going to get a different scene of opinion. Now, I know me and several others out there are going to get a difference of opinion, and you know, that's fine. You know, everybody's got a right to that. But the thing is, it's like they had that momentum for 1 week. In the eyes of many fans, they dropped it right at the beginning, right when it mattered the most. They dropped it at the beginning of Raw. True, they regained it a little bit towards the end with the ending of Raw, and it's true they're going to regain a little bit more. I'll probably try to keep it going with the ending of SmackDown this Friday. But still, it's like, you had the ball, you had that momentum going, and then you just dropped it with what you did. And what's funny about this, and the fact that it backfire, and the fact that this is backfiring financially or profit-wise in the eyes of WWE, because let's be honest, WWE does get a huge percentage of the cable buy rates. All right? Let's not kid ourselves. Yes, cable companies get it as well. They add it onto your bills, and that's how they get it. But WWE is the one that essentially gets a bigger profit than them because that is their show. But point is, WWE apparently is going to lose a lot of profits from Cox Cable. Yeah. From what has been reported by PWI Insider, Cox Cable customers who ordered Night of Champions 24 hours later have asked for refunds and have been successful in getting those refunds. Now you might say, well, why do they want refunds if, you might ask yourself, you might ask yourself and you might ask the question, well, why do they want refunds? I mean, if they ordered and saw the show, what? Sorry about that. I'm just looking outside. You're probably asking, why do they want refunds if they were able to see the show? Well, here's the validated reason. Here's the validated reason as to why they got refunds, or they asked for refunds and were successful in getting them. Because even though they got the ending that they were hoping for at Night of Champions with Daniel Bryan being champion, that ending was invalidated, was taken away from them, was basically invalidated. Basically, the ending they got at Night of Champions, had that ending stuck, if you will, had Daniel Bryan not been stripped of the title, none of this would have happened. In other words, because of the fact that WWE decides to, in their minds, flip them the bird, if you will, just flip them the bird, or just say, up yours, and strip Daniel Bryan of the title, they demanded refunds from the cable company. That's right, Cox Cable refunded people because of the fact that on Raw, because the beginning of Raw basically caused the ending of Night of Champions to be null and void. In other words, not mean a damn thing. Yeah. That's basically it. It's basically caused, basically because basically, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm trying to say here is, and I'll provide a link down below, but basically Cox customers if you will, Cox customers who ordered Night of Champions, they basically just told the WWE, hey, you want to screw us? They're saying, hey, you want to screw us out of an ending, out of giving Daniel Bryan the title, and not validating, and basically saying, hey, not validating that ending, you want to screw us out of it? You know, they're saying, hey, you want to screw us out of that ending? Then guess what? We're going to screw you out of some buy rates. We're going to screw you out of some money. Now, people might say that it's piracy and that it doesn't make sense. It's like, hey, once you pay for it, you should deal with it. Time Warner's that way. Comcast is that way. AT&T is that way. Well, apparently, Cox Cable is a little more different. It looks like whoever's in charge of Cox Cable is like, hey, if the product that we're helping to advertise and broadcast, isn't going to live up to the expectations or live up to what they basically are promising to give the customer, then the customer is always right, and we should give the customer what they want. And in return, and what the customer wants is a refund for not getting the ending that they were promised. So, how does this tie up to what I'm talking about with the storyline? Well, basically it's because, true, it's probably just a small majority, or minority, or whatever you want to call it, small minority, majority. It basically shows that even that small of a section of fans, that money talks, and basically they're saying, look, we're getting sick and tired of this crap. We're getting sick and tired of the screw jobbing over and over again. It needs to stop. And basically what they're saying is, hey, if you don't give us an ending that you're going to stand by, then why even bother having the match? Why even bother advertising it for the main event? So to me, WWE's going to have to step up and really step up to the plate and change the game plan. Because if you don't think right now cable customers, of other cable companies like Comcast, like AT&T, like Time Warner, like Cablevision, like DirecTV, like Dish Network, if you don't think they're going to read about what's happened here, and they're going to say, well, if they can get money back for an ending for an ending that doesn't live up to its expectations, maybe we could do the same thing. And that tells me WWE has got to live up to the ending. They got to at least follow through on it in some ways. They basically, like I said, these fans are basically telling WWE, hey, you want to screw us out of an ending, we're going to screw you out of some money. And again, I know it's just a small majority of fans when it comes to the Cox Cable Company. But for those areas that have Cox Cable, that have those customers that are doing this, again, even though it's a small majority, it is sending a message to WWE that, hey, you either live up to the ending that you're going to give up, you stick by that ending, or you don't do it, or you don't have it, or basically, it's like you live up to the ending, you stick by that ending, and earn the money that you're basically, forcing people to pay. Well, not forcing them, but basically, you live up to that suggestive price you want people to pay and add to the cable bill, then you need to live up to the ending. Because if you don't live up and stand by that ending, it's going to be worse. And like I said, if you think for one instant, for one moment that cable customers, consumers of other cable companies like Comcast, AT&T, Uverse, Cablevision, Time Warner, if you don't think, even SureWest, if you will, and Frontier, if you don't think, along with those cable companies and Dish Network and DirecTV, that people aren't going to pick up on this, if you don't think they're not going to hear about this and say, maybe WWE needs to start giving us what we want and not screw us out of the ending. Because basically, again, like I said at the beginning, that's exactly what they did here with the whole Daniel Bryan situation. Yeah, he won the title at Night of Champions. Gave people who didn't see Night of Champions, but a reason to download the torrent or download it courtesy of YouTube, and then tune into Raw last night, or 2 nights ago. Tune into Raw 2 nights ago, only to have it taken away from them. It's like you go to a movie. It's like, okay, you're going to go and see a movie, right? And you're expecting a good movie. Okay, you get the movie you're expecting. You get the good movie. You get the ending you're expecting. But then all of a sudden, it's taken away from you. It's like, okay, you're getting a good movie. You're going to think you're going to get the ending that you want. And then all of a sudden, that good movie's taken away from you because the ending is changed. Or they decide to do a post-credit where they make the... Okay, it's like... Okay, let me see if I can correct myself here. It's like if you have a good movie. It's like if you go to see a movie that's been hyped up and it's supposed to be good, and the ending's going to be good, and it turns out to be just that, and then all of a sudden, when they're doing the post credits, that good ending is taken away from you with a stupider or badder ending, a worse ending, and it's like, I paid, and you're like, wait, I just paid $12 to see a movie which was good all the way through, and then after the credits are over, they decide to take it away with this, there's no doubt you're going to want to get a refund. It's kind of like when you go back to the situation about a year ago or so. It was over in Nottingham. It was somewhere in Nottingham. Families were going to go see Madagascar 3 down in the UK, basically in the Nottingham section of the UK. Where they were going to take the kids, the families, parents and all that, were going to take the kids to go see Madagascar 3. So think about it. Parents are going in, they're paying, I guess, the equivalent of $12 or maybe $7. Well, actually, it was during the day, so you'd think more like on the equivalent, the UK equivalent, or the Nottingham equivalent of $7, $5, whatever, right? They go and pay that. It's not too much, right? So they go and pay that $7, that $5 to $7. They go sit down, they've got the popcorn, the sodas, whatever. They're thinking they're going to sit down and have a fun time watching Madagascar 3. And instead, what do they get? They end up getting a dead corpse flying at the screen, and they find out that instead of Madagascar 3, they're getting Paranormal Activity 4. Yeah, they're getting the Paranormal Activity 4. Yeah, think about that. You just paid, if you're a moviegoer and you just paid $5 to $7 to go take your kids and your family to go see a movie, this movie, if you will, and all of a sudden, instead of getting that movie, and instead of just getting that movie, you get one of the scariest movies in recent memory. You would ask for a refund, right? Well, as strange as a comparison as that is to what happened after Raw, what happened 24 hours after, 24 hours later on Raw, again, even though it's a strange comparison, that's basically how fans felt. The Cox WWE fans, customers, felt. They felt gypped. They felt like, hey, you're supposed to give us what we want. You're supposed to give us what we're hoping to give us the ending we're hoping for, and yet you're giving us this? This isn't right. We don't want this. We didn't want this. Which I guess validates why they wanted refunds. So, yeah, basically, sounds like the WWE has got some thinking to do. The WWE's got some thinking to do, some strategizing to do to make sure that doesn't happen again. So if I'm WWE, knowing the possibility that this could carry on, even though it's a small thing right now, I know if I'm WWE, I hear about this. It's going to get bigger. I hear about this. I know if I'm WWE, I know that eventually it's going to grow. It's going to get bigger. So I'm going to have to do something to change the way I think. I'm going to have to change my business strategy. And how do you change your business strategy? Quite simply, you give the fans the ending they are hoping for. You don't give it to them and then take it away from them. It's going to cost you in the end. So, again, strange as that sounds, not only are fans starting to tune out more, not only are you having more fans tune out this week by week, not only are you having more fans starting to tune out the WWE product because they've seen these storylines before with Daniel Bryan versus the Corporation, aka this year's, aka the PG version of Austin versus Corporation, and Big Show Stephanie, aka 2013 version of HBK JBL. But also because they knew things like this, like what happened on Raw, was going to happen, and they don't want it to happen. And basically, right or wrong, they're trying to send a message to WWE through what matters the most, the pockets, the wallets, if you will. They're trying to send a message to them that, hey, you want our money? You give us what we want. And again, if I'm WWE and I hear about this, I know I have to start fearing and knowing that it's going to probably grow and it's going to extend to other companies, other cable companies. So I've got to come up with a different strategy. But that's just my take on this whole situation, and basically my take on this whole Cox customers getting refunds deal. So let me know what you guys think down below. Comment if you like if you can. I'm sure you can comment, but let me know what you guys think below. Video a response some way or another if you can, and I will talk to y'all later. God bless. Take care.